You're listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast network.
Miami's got the Dolphins, the greatest football team. We take the ball from goal to goal like no one's ever seen. We're in the air, we're on the ground, we're always in control. Hey, when you say Miami, you're talking Super Bowl. 'Cause we're the Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one. Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one.
Hello, Miami Dolphin fans, and welcome to the Same Old Dolphins Show, sponsored by BetUS, part of the DolphinsTalk.com podcast network. I am Josh Katzker. With me today and every day, although sadly no longer in the same room with me, is my brother from the exact same mother, Aaron the Brain. Aaron, say hello to the people.
Hello to the people from back in sunny South Florida.
Congratulations, Brain. You successfully navigated the airline system, made it back to South Florida. You got your bags with you to get back home. What a time. What a time. It was great having you here in Central New York for a little while. It was great having you and the wife up here enjoying the fall weather. I mean, and you really got the fall weather. You got the drizzle, you got the just a little bit chilly weather. It was a good time.
It was nice. It was a welcome change from the oppressive heat, and it was honestly just really good to take a much needed break. And it's a slower, simpler way of life up there in upstate New York than it is down
You make it
here.
sound like we're Amish people.
You're pretty close.
To be fair, some of us are. Some of us are up here.
It is a different way of life, and I'm not saying it in a bad way. Honestly, it was really good. It was a really nice, refreshing change. It was relaxing.
My wife was making a full court press to your wife, trying to get her to agree to move up here.
I heard you kind of gave the soft sell, and she threw the whole book at it. She gave the whole package, like, you know, when you're playing like NCAA football, like 2002, and you go on the recruiting trail, and you can pitch like all these little pitches. She checked all the boxes. Yeah. Well, she's not subtlety is not really her thing, but you know. In this show, whose thing is subtlety on this show, right? Anyway, it was a good time. And in addition to all of the other stuff that we did, we got to sit down together and watch the Miami Dolphins play football. Yeah, we did get to. Yeah, I picked the wrong one there for a second. So, but that's the one that I meant to put on there because hashtag real men wear pink and hashtag real men watch Bravo. But yeah, we did get to watch some football. If you could call it that. Actually, it was a pretty good game. It was actually one of the better games on Sunday. It was a pretty dreadfully boring first half, but the second half was pretty entertaining. Yeah, it was. It turned out to be a pretty exciting game, although the ending was pretty predictable. It was a very same old Dolphins finish to the game, to the surprise of nobody on this room. I think. You know, you and I looked at each other when the Dolphins scored that touchdown and took the lead and said, there's no way that the Falcons don't just go down the field and kick the game-winning field goal here. We've seen it way too many times. There was nothing surprising about it, especially this year. Like, I mean, the second the Dolphins scored and you said, oh, there's like 2.5 minutes left. We'll still lose this thing. And I called it. I called it. It was the Younghoe Koo revenge game. And there you have it.
That's true. He did not miss that kick at the end this time. And so the Dolphins end up on the wrong side of the 30-28 final score, which is a bummer. Drops them to 1-6 on the season. It's just a mess. And, you know, it's a mess just from the football side of things before you even get into all of the off-field stuff that is going on as well, which we are absolutely going to talk about today. But first, a reminder to everybody, if you haven't done so already, to make sure that you're following both the Brain and I on Twitter. I'm at Amplified to Rock. He is at Aaron the Brain. That's at Aaron the Brain. The show is at Same Old Dolphins. We ask you to download, rate, review, and subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and all of the places where you can find podcasts. And don't forget to visit DolphinsTalk.com each and every day. It is your one-stop shop for all things Miami Dolphins. Site is going crazy. And also make sure that you're heading over to the Dolphins Talk YouTube page. Those of you who are watching us live on YouTube right now, hello. How are you? Big shout out to all of you watching live on YouTube. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. And make sure you turn on notifications so you don't miss when we go live or when everybody else on the website goes live on the Dolphins Talk YouTube channel. All right, let's get into it, Brain. This was a tough game for the Dolphins in a lot of ways. The defense continues to just be kind of an utter disaster at this point in time. But this was a game where, aside from the fact that the defense played a terrible game, the quarterback, with the exception of two absolutely brutal interceptions, and he played pretty well with 32 of 40 for 291 yards, 4 touchdowns. Obviously, you can't say he played well, but he threw 2 interceptions. He threw 2 absolutely brutal interceptions in the 3 complete games that he's played this year. He's thrown at least 1 pretty brutal interception, but he otherwise has played pretty well. And between the game that he played in London against the Jaguars and then this game against the Falcons, he's looking like a pretty good quarterback right now for a guy who's had 14 career starts altogether. So, Brain, what I want to know is, without getting into all of the other stuff just yet, what is your opinion right now as we are through 14 games total of the NFL career of Tua Tagovailoa?
He looks like right now he's just, an average NFL starting quarterback, maybe not even at this point. I mean, he looks like his ceiling. I still think he can be very good. It's capped to a certain point based on, just his physical tools. But in order to be a great quarterback with the tools that he does have, you need to have great accuracy, great anticipation. You need to be a quick decision maker, and he does all of those things. So there's no reason to believe that he can't develop. But that said, you just can't keep making excuses for him. You can't sit there and say that he played really well, except for those 2 interceptions. And if you just take out those 2 interceptions, he played really well. No, you can't do that. You can do that if it happened every now and then, but it's happening every game. And these are not just interceptions. They are brutal interceptions. You're talking about an interception in the end zone where he throws into double coverage. It's just a bad decision and a bad throw. You have for the second week in a row, an interception that comes on the first play after the Dolphins defense creates a potentially game-changing turnover, and then we give the ball. These are huge momentum swings. These are the kind of plays that at the end of the day decide games. They are the difference between wins and losses. And so much of how we grade quarterbacks and, decipher quarterbacks' legacies and how good they are comes back to wins and losses, fair or unfair. But one of the keys in winning and losing games is protecting the football and doing it at the times that are the most opportune. And he has had over the last 2 weeks 3 of the worst interceptions at the worst possible time that you can have those interceptions, and that cannot be ignored. Did he play pretty well other than that? Yeah, I mean, he's fine. I would say in every game this year that he's played, with the exception of the Buffalo game because he only played a few snaps before he got hurt, I would say that you're looking at a quarterback that played at about a C+ to B- grade. And that's where he's been, and just call it the way it is. That's fine. And you could use the caveat that he's young and he's only made so many starts, and that's fine if you want to feel better about it. But at the end of the day, you're going to look at Justin Herbert and you're going to say, well, he's played, a few more games, but at the end of the day, Justin Herbert looks like a legit franchise quarterback, and we're, the second year now, we're about a year and a half into the Tua career, and we still don't know. And the fact that you don't know is telling, at least to some extent. And I'm not saying that he's not going to be, because like I said, when you don't have certain physical tools, it takes longer to really hit that level, because you're relying on things that take a little bit more experience and nuance, things like anticipation and accuracy, because your margin of error is smaller because you can't rely on just the elite athleticism. So that being said, right now where we're at with Tua, he looks fine, but he doesn't look great, and you should not be sold one way or another at this point that he is the franchise quarterback. And I don't think you should necessarily be sold otherwise either.
Yeah. And I think that is I think that's an important thing that you just mentioned there, is that you said you think it's too early to make a judgment one way or the other on whether or not he's the franchise quarterback. Like you don't think it's necessary. You think it might even be too early to make the decision that, no, this guy is definitely not the franchise quarterback. Let me ask you this. Do you think, and granted, it's only been, let's call it 3 games this season, because we won't count the Buffalo game because he was annihilated before he had a chance to even do anything. But would you say that you have seen improvement out of Tua based on, let's say, the last 2 games against Jacksonville and against Atlanta, perhaps with the caveat that, okay, this was against Jacksonville and it was against Atlanta. But would you say that you have seen improvement out of Tua over what you saw in the majority of his starts last year? And I'll take the Arizona game out of that, because I think that was, up until these last couple of games, Tua's best performance as a Miami Dolphin.
Without question, he's improved over last year. I think it's clear as day. You just see a guy, and you saw it in the preseason, and granted, you can't, ultimately you need to see it in the regular season, but even in the preseason, you could just tell, like, this is a guy that's not looking over his shoulder. This isn't a guy that's still learning how to play at the level. He just has a certain level of confidence. He's much quicker to make his reads. He's getting the ball out quick. He's decisive. He's definitely better, and the accuracy's been better. And although his arm strength is still nothing to write home about, and it's still never going to be an elite level arm strength or even an above average arm for NFL standards, I do think there's a little bit more zip on the ball this year than we saw last year. So in basically, and we're seeing him run the ball a lot more, and we're seeing him be more confident with that, to just tuck it and run and get upfield and not feel, hesitant to do that. And so he's playing overall much more free, and he's, without question, he's been better than he was last year. If he wasn't, that would be a major red flag.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, I think you're right. I think this is a guy that is improving, and I think it's clear. And I think if you are watching this guy play and you don't see improvement, I don't know what to tell you if you don't see improvement, because he is taking strides forward. I can see that your evaluation is, this is not the guy for me, and at this point, this guy is not doing the things that I want him to do. I can see if that is what your valuation of things is, but I think saying that there hasn't been improvement is being a little bit intellectually dishonest when it comes to evaluating a talent such as Tua Tagovailoa. And I think what is most interesting is that this is a guy who is continuing to go out there and improve, and he's working hard to make himself a better football player. And he's doing that largely with a team around him that is in some ways worse than the team was last year. He's got a defense last year that was helping out tremendously on the offensive line. You can argue that certain players on the offensive line have taken steps back this year. The big offseason move was that the Dolphins had bolstered their wide receiving core, and that has just not been the case. Going into the season, the top 4 receivers for the Dolphins were going to be Devontae Parker, Will Fuller, Jalen Waddle, Preston Williams, right? That's going to be your top 4 receivers on the team, and then maybe Albert Wilson you could throw in as a 5th, right? That was supposed to be your top 5 wide receivers. There has not been a single snap all season where those top 4 wide receivers have been on the field at the same time together this year with Tua. Hasn't happened. Has not happened where Tua has been on the field at the same time as those 4 wide receivers. So again, he's largely making the most of this while he's throwing it to Jalen Waddle, who it is inexplicably being utilized horribly with these short routes as opposed to, putting him down the field and having him run deep routes. It's really not something that we're seeing a lot of. But we're seeing that connection between Mike Gesicki. It's still there. We're seeing the connection with Tua and Waddle in the short routes. But otherwise, he's still throwing the ball to Mac Hollins, and he threw a touchdown pass to Isaiah Ford, who's in like his 18th tour of duty with the Miami Dolphins at this point. It's pretty remarkable to see the work that he's doing. So this is a guy who I think, at least when it comes to the on-field situation, has clearly not been put in the best possible situation. And then you take that and then you combine it with the absolute clown show that is happening off the field in regards to this franchise. It's a wonder that guy can go out there and play football at all based on what he's been dealing with, because this is a guy who essentially since the end of last season has heard nothing but nonstop hints, whispers, and outright screams from people that this is a Miami Dolphins team who is looking to bring in a quarterback who is in a lot of legal trouble off the field to come in and be their new franchise quarterback. So this guy who was drafted 5th overall, supposed to be the new franchise quarterback, gets the team handed to him, and now has been constantly listening to all of the rumors of everything that's been going on off the field leading up to this season. And now in season, the mess has somehow gotten worse, Brain. It's gotten worse.
If there's a franchise that can do it, this is the one.
I don't understand how this team, and we talked about it in our last episode, was a lot about the sort of you and I sharing our emotional perspective of why we did not want the Dolphins to make some move for the quarterback in Houston because of everything that is going on off the field with him and surrounding him. We talked about that. We made that discussion. So today we're going to try to talk really more about just the absolute lunacy of what the Dolphins are doing in terms of just from the football perspective, right? From the perspective of, even if you do not care at all about the off-field issues, right? You don't care. It doesn't bother you. It's totally fine. They're just accusations, whatever. Okay, fine. I don't agree with you on a person-to-person level when it comes to that, but whatever. We'll set that aside for now. The fact of the matter is those things exist, right? These accusations exist. The civil suits exist. The criminal suits exist. Right? And because of that, there is not clarity on what the league is going to do and what might happen outside of the jurisdiction of the National Football League with this player. So how do you, in any way, shape, or form, justify not only making the phone calls and having the conversations and negotiating, but eventually coming to a place where you have reportedly agreed to terms for a trade for this player and letting all of this get out there, doing it not so secret. It's not like you're doing this under, cloak and dagger, trying to be very sneaky about it. These negotiations are happening and it's being reported. And in the meantime, you've got this, essentially still rookie quarterback leading your franchise who is trying to put the team on his shoulders to the best of ability. This whole situation is such a joke. It's such a joke.
They've completely bungled this whole thing. And look, you know where we land on this. You know where I land on this as far as not wanting them to get Watson. But I'll say this. If you made up your mind that you were going to go after him, and part of the reason why you're pursuing him so hard while all of this stuff is out there is because this stuff is out there and that makes him more of a value. It drops the asking price for Deshaun Watson. Then when you agree to terms, just make the frickin' move. Just make the move because that's your guy. It's obvious that you want him. You're not going to get clarity. You know that you've known the entire year that you're not going to get clarity as far as his legal issues and what's going to happen there. You really think, did you think 2 weeks ago? Did you think last week? Did you think this week that somehow you were going to get this giant news break that all of a sudden he was going to be cleared? No, this is going to go well into the remainder of this season and into next offseason with the whole legal issue. And then the NFL, because he hasn't been charged, they aren't going to do anything until the legal system, runs its course. So you're not going to get clarity on that either. So if you were waiting for this the entire time and you weren't going to make the move until you had that, then you should have come out right at the beginning of this and just said, we're not going to trade for we're not even going to discuss Deshaun Watson. We're not even going to entertain the idea of trading for this guy until this stuff is settled. But no, you've been out there. You've been making these phone calls. You've been having these conversations, so much so that we have now the news that they have agreed to terms and that they're just waiting on this. So at this point, what are you waiting for? You're waiting for clarity so that his asking price, so you can have more teams in the discussions, so that your asking price turns back into 4 first-round picks, a second-round pick, a third-round pick, and more draft capital. So they've made it actually worse on themselves to where, the one argument that you could have made for it making sense to trade for Watson at this time was that because of all of this, it's a gamble, but you're playing the game that you're going to get him for a value. Now you're not even going to get him for a value because you're waiting for the whole thing to clear up. If you're going to do it, grow some frickin' balls and do it. But this team can't even do that right. And in the meantime, they've completely turned this into a major distraction. This coaching staff, this organization that prides itself ever since they hired Brian Flores on, we're all about football. We want guys to be all about football. We want no distractions. They have created the distraction and they haven't let it go away because they continue to prolong it with this stupid sitting on the fence. They can't decide if they want to be evil or if they want to be or if they want to have good PR. So they're trying to do the thing where they're playing both sides of the fence, where we really obviously want Deshaun Watson and we don't really care about any of these accusations. But at the same time, we don't want to piss our fan base off. So we're going to go out there and we're going to say we're not going to trade for him until all this stuff clears. Just make up your damn mind and do it. Do one way or another. Say it's happening or it's not happening. But the more you sit on the fence, the more you're the same old Dolphins.
Right. And it's just, and what's happening is they're just completely alienating a fan base that is already furious with the team because they've taken such enormous steps backwards this year. And yeah, sure, maybe this is a team, and there was some speculation in the offseason that this team was going to be a victim of its own success because they had arrived a little early with the 10-6 record last season. But now here they're sitting at 1-6. The defense has taken enormous steps back, shedding all of the big contracts, those veteran players, those leaders from the team, has taken an enormous toll on this defense, which has taken big steps back. And they can't seem to stop anybody, to the point that in the last 2 games, they were up against 2 of the weakest teams, or 2 of the perceived weakest teams in the National Football League, and they lost to them twice, right? They lost to a rookie quarterback in Trevor Lawrence, who has not really looked great for all of the wonderful things that everybody thinks about him when it comes to his physical tools and his physical traits and all that he's got, going for him. And you lost to an a still very good quarterback in Matt Ryan, but a Matt Ryan who is, he's a lot closer to being washed than he is to being clean, if you know what I mean. And the Dolphins lost to him, and Kyle Pitts ran wild all over the team, which, fair enough. And I mean, it is a very ugly situation. And then you take that with the way that the Dolphins are kind of misusing Jalen Waddle. Almost everything concerning the on-field product has been a disaster this year. So then to add on to that with this 3-ring circus off the field, it's just, I don't understand what this organization is doing. This team that seemed to have a very clear-cut plan going forward. And Steve Ross, who said specifically and explicitly that he was ready to go forward on this plan and to follow that plan where it took us, is now jumping off ship, abandoning ship, and saying, okay, let's go get this quarterback. And make no mistake, because I know that there are people out there that say, let's not put this on Steve Ross because it's coming, all of this Watson stuff is coming from the football guys, the Chris Greers and the people in the front office. Steve Ross is the owner of a multi-million-dollar business called the Miami Dolphins. And he has been talking about the importance of creating a team that is going to be something that is looked up to in the community and high character guys and that sort of thing. And all he's got to do is come out and say, no, we are not doing this. That's all he has to do. All he has to do is look at this situation and go, this is a PR nightmare. Even if he really wants this guy, all he has to do is say, we can't make a move for this player. Right. He could even say, we can't make a move for this player right now. And that would even be an improvement over what's happening and what's been said. But they're not doing that. And so we sit here, fans of a 1-6 football team that seems to be going nowhere fast on the field and is off the field just a 5-alarm dumpster fire. It's a 3-ring circus and a 5-alarm dumpster fire. It is just a complete mess. And as you said, they continue to be the same old Dolphins. Is there anything else that you want to say when it comes to this situation?
No, it's just more of the same. They're completely clueless. They completely they have no conviction one way or another. It's the same thing in building the roster. It's 1 year it's one plan, and then the next year they decide, 1 year we're going to sign all these guys, we're going to go out, we're going to sign Shaq Lawson, we're going to sign Kyle Van Noy, we're going to sign Eric Flowers, and then the very next off season we're cutting Van Noy after giving him a 3-year contract. We're trading Shaq Lawson. We're trading Eric Flowers for pennies on the dollar just as a salary dump. We're releasing the linebacker that we got back in the Kyle Van Noy deal after saying that he was a big piece of the puzzle because of his run defense. And now our run defense sucks even more than it did last year. This team has no conviction with any decision that they make, yet somehow people are going to laud them and they're going to say, well, they're great at admitting that they made a mistake and pivoting. Well, you can only pivot so many times before you realize that you've just been pivoting in a circle, and that's where where we've been at for the last 20 years is pivoting in this circle over and over again.
Yeah. The Dolphins are pivoting in a circle on a treadmill. They're going nowhere, and it's just really, really, really hard to watch. And so at this point, we know that there's less than a week to go as we record on Wednesday night, less than a week to go until the trade deadline is here. And so at least if the move doesn't happen in the next, few days, at least we'll be able to have a little bit of time. The rumor's not going to go away, but at least things will quiet down for a little while. And maybe, just maybe, there's some good in that. But this is the Dolphins we're talking about. It's probably not. But anyway, you know what is good, Brain? You know what is good?
Tell me.
A sports book with integrity and longevity. And if you're going to talk about a sports book with integrity and longevity, we're talking about BetUS, because BetUS have been pioneers in the sports book industry for almost 3 decades, Brain. 3 decades thriving and paying their loyal customer base. So if you go to BetUS.com, they've got a lot of bonuses. But if you use the promo code Dolphins Talk, you'll receive a 125% sign-up bonus. They also have re-up and referral bonuses. So since BetUS is known as America's favorite sports book, you might want to head over there and use that sign-up code Dolphins Talk. They've got all your NBA and NHL games, team and player props. They got NFL futures, NFL odds up, UFC matches, PGA golf, all kinds of stuff. They got online casino with hundreds of games. They've also got the race book with all the horse tracks. They've got every type of bet imaginable. And the Sharp BetUS mobile platform is easy with full betting options. So you need to follow my lead. Okay, you got to follow my lead, and you got to head over to get your phone and your online and social sports betting partner with integrity and longevity. Those are 2 key words: integrity and longevity. Do it like I did. BetUS. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS. There you go. Have you been to BetUS? Have you laid any money down on BetUS recently, Brain?
Yeah, well, I put some money on the Dolphins making the playoffs, but that didn't go so well.
Whew. You might as well have set that money on fire. Did you use your crypto? Did you use your Ethereum?
I don't have the crypto yet. I'm late to the party on the crypto, but I'm learning, and I may buy some by 2025.
Oh, look at this! All right, very good. Well. Listen, I say do it like I did and get your sports book with integrity and longevity. I can't do it in New York State yet. New York State, not able to do the online betting, which is a little bit of a bummer. But, other folks can, and God bless them. I've still got to go to the old brick and mortar casino if I want to place a bet. Me and Mike got to go over to our local establishment down the road. There's one actually right around the corner from my house. Next time I got to take you there. Next time you're in town, we'll take you over to the casino. But Brain, the Dolphins have also been busy with all of the other stuff that's been going on. Some other news to report. That's that Jason McCourty and Malcolm Brown have both gone to injured reserve. McCourty with a foot injury, Malcolm Brown with a quad injury. It sounds like McCourty may end up being out for the rest of the season. And it seems like Malcolm Brown is going to be out for a while as well. But the Dolphins have now added Sheldrick Red Wine, a University of Miami product, as well as another product of the University of Miami, Duke Johnson, has been added to the practice squad. They also released Reed Sinnett. That happened on Saturday, right before the game. And of course, with all the Watson rumors brewing, everybody was thinking, oh, here come the conspiracy theories. But it was because he had been on the active roster for so long with Tua on the IR. So they released him with the idea that he would clear waivers and they would add him back to the practice squad. But they got sniped. Brain. The Philadelphia Eagles swooped in and claimed Reed Sinnett. So the Dolphins have signed Jake Dolegala to the practice squad. Jake Dolegala. What, Brain, I need your analysis on the career of Jake Dolegala.
I have no analysis on the career of Jake Dolegala. I have no idea. When you said his name prior to the start of the show, that was the first time that I'd heard Jake Dolegala.
Very good. Jake Dolegala. Well, listen, the McCourty injury is no good. You hate to see that, but I mean, McCourty hasn't looked great at times, but again, was something approaching that veteran presence on the field for the Dolphins, so that there was value there. But now he's gone, and now Sheldrick Redwine comes in, so it'll be interesting to see how he slots in and see how the Dolphins arrange things in the secondary with the absence of Jason McCourty. In the meantime, Malcolm Brown is out, and Malcolm Brown, I'm not crying tears of sadness losing Malcolm Brown to IR, because he has proven the same kind of point that the Dolphins proved last year when they signed Jordan Howard and traded for Matt Breida. It's like the Dolphins just don't seem to do very well bringing in these veteran running backs. Malcolm Brown did not prove to be very well, and yet again was shown that Myles Gaskin is the best running back on the team. And so Now with Brown going on IR, I'm expecting to see a lot more of Myles Gaskin and perhaps a bit more of Savon Ahmed as well. And these are two guys with some juice back there. So what do you make of the situation with the Dolphins backfield? And then it sounds like the Dolphins are planning to elevate one of Patrick Laird, Duke Johnson, or Jared Dokes to the 53-man roster this weekend as well.
Well, I think it's got to be Dokes, because Dokes is, I mean, we know that Laird and Duke Johnson are not guys that are going to run between the tackles. And the whole reason that Malcolm Brown was out there was because he could run between the tackles. Though he's also a good blocker in pass protection. So maybe Patrick Laird, maybe that's him getting a shot here. I do want to talk a little bit about the secondary with McCourty going out and then bringing in Redwine. I mean, this has to be Igbo season, right?
Oh, Jesus.
I mean, if Igbo can't get on the field now, if Trill Williams gets on the field before him, if Shedrick Redwine gets on the field before him, then I think we can safely all say that the Igbo experiment is over, and that it's just a full-blown bust at that point. And then as far as a running back, yeah, news break. The Dolphins haven't had success bringing in veteran running backs in free agency. Who does?
That's a very good point.
Who does? Nobody. That's why they are free agents. And that's why you don't invest in running backs. You draft your running back, and then you get them to that second contract. If they're good enough to be a featured back, you pay them that second contract. If they're not, you let them go and you let somebody else pay them, and you get another replacement level running back in the draft in like the 4th, 5th, 6th, or 7th round, like you did with Myles Gaskin. And Myles Gaskin ends up being the best running back on the team, and it's not surprising. And you know, we're comparing Malcolm Brown to Jordan Howard, and the fact is Malcolm Brown's actually been a lot better than Jordan Howard was last year.
That's true.
So
I mean, but that's not saying a whole lot, to be honest.
But he is actually potentially going to be missed because he has been pretty good running between the tackles when we've needed to run between the tackles. That said, like, he's not great. He's Malcolm Brown. He's not, he's not Le'Veon Bell in the prime of his career. He's not Christian Okoye. He's not, people aren't bouncing off of him when you use him in Tecmo Super Bowl. This isn't that kind of guy, and we don't have that type of guy, and nobody that we're bringing up from the practice squad is going to be that kind of guy. So it's whatever, like, maybe Duke Johnson comes in and he has more of an impact over Savon Ahmed, since Ahmed has been relatively disappointing thus far this season. So Duke Johnson, a guy that we know can catch the ball out of the backfield and can create explosive plays at least, 3, 4, 5 years ago. Maybe he doesn't have anything left in the tank. We don't know that, but we know that he can catch and run routes. So maybe that's how they use him. And they just go to this whole, forget running the ball between the tackles. Myles Gaskin will be the guy when we want to run it. It'll be every down back. And then when we want to, give Myles Gaskin a break, then instead of going directly to Savon Ahmed, maybe Duke Johnson gets a chance. But I do think that Jared Dokes makes a lot of sense because of the way that he runs and because of his sheer size. If they want to bring up a guy that's going to run between the tackles, then Jared Dokes would be that guy.
And he's very helpful in that pass protection as well. Back there, he's proven he's got a little bit of that in him as well. So that's where the Dolphins are at in the running back situation, which now brings us to the part of the show that I'm really excited to talk about. Our preview of the Miami Dolphins traveling to Orchard Park, New York to take on a Buffalo Bills team that is coming off of a bye, and right before their bye, lost on the road to Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry, and the rest of the Tennessee Titans. So you've got an angry Buffalo Bills team who have had a week off going up against the Miami Dolphins team that has lost 6 consecutive games and just happens to have no clue what to do when it comes to playing a football game against the Buffalo Bills. Brain, I don't know that there's a whole lot of point in getting into the weeds of what we expect to happen on Sunday. So let me just ask you this. Is there any way the Dolphins lose this game by fewer than 3 touchdowns?
I thought you were going to say but fewer than 35 points. Fewer than 3 touchdowns.
I mean,
fewer than 3 touchdowns. I guess it's possible if the Bills, pull their starters relatively early. If this isn't a game, if the Bills are up by 30 going into the fourth quarter, they might pull their starters, and then we get some garbage time scores to get it less than three touchdowns.
So that's it. It's Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs are all on the bench in the fourth quarter, and the Bills have also pulled off all their.
I'm talking about. I'm not just talking Allen and Diggs. I'm talking about Hughes and Rousseau and everybody on that defensive side of the ball too. Because I don't know that the Dolphins learned how to block in the last month or so since we last played the Bills. But if we haven't, there was a relatively good chance that Tua is going to get hurt again.
Yeah. You think Jesse Davis will just, maybe Jesse Davis has a stomach ache that day. And he just,
maybe we'll actually get to see Greg Little, and then we'll realize that Greg Little's even worse than Davis, Jackson, and Eichenberg.
I mean, it's just a rough situation on this Dolphins offensive line right now, because it is pretty offensive. So I don't know. I have no confidence at all that the Dolphins are going to have figured anything out when it comes to slowing the Bills down, unless there's some entire other element of the Dolphins' offensive and defensive playbook that they have been waiting until week 8 with a 1-6 record to release the Kraken in Orchard Park to somehow find a way to get victory. I just don't see any way that this game is even close on Sunday. So I'm going to pick Buffalo to win this game. Something like, I don't know, how about 48-17?
I was going to say 45-13.
Okay. So we're both feeling very confident in the Dolphins' ability to get something done this weekend. Yeah. I mean, it's just like, this is absolute the worst case scenario because, I don't know that. I guess there's one thing to look forward to, I guess, in this game. And that is, with Tua having his best 2-game stretch in his NFL career, and granted it being against Jacksonville and Atlanta, if he can come out and have moments in this game, and because remember, he played 7 snaps against the Bills before he got hurt last time. So this is going to be an opportunity for us to see a direct comparison of what does this team look like against Buffalo with Tua at quarterback, theoretically anyway, versus what it looked like with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. Well, so I guess this is another opportunity.
We'll see it for more than 9 snaps.
Maybe, hopefully that's the goal, right? But I mean, here's the thing. Everybody's been talking about, not everybody, but a lot of people who are, let's just call them people who don't believe that Tua is the answer for this team right now, have been their reaction to the fact that Tua has had a couple of pretty good games overall against Jacksonville and Atlanta has been, okay, but he's done it against Atlanta and Jacksonville. So let's see what he does against a team like the Buffalo Bills, who, before they were shredded by Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry and the Tennessee Titans, had, this was the best defense in the National Football League. So I guess the thing is, if Tua can put up numbers similar to what he's put up the last couple of weeks and do it in Buffalo against the Bills, that's, I think, pretty helpful information, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still laughing at this whole idea that Tua had these great games, and we're saying, oh yeah, but he did it against the Jags and the Falcons, and I'm sitting here and saying, what did he even do? He played average NFL quarterback, slightly above average NFL. He played C+, B- quarterback. He played well, but made horrible mistakes that cost them the football game. But but he did so well against two of the worst defenses. He didn't even win. He didn't even.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty harsh criticism. I think it's a pretty harsh criticism of that Atlanta game to say that he did make two very bad decisions, and and there were some people who will tell you that if you really look at the tape, Waddle hung him out to dry on the second interception, and that Durham Smythe ran the wrong route on the first one, and that's why those interceptions were thrown. And I'm not here to say that those guys are right. I'm not here to say that, because I think personally, at the end of the day, both of those passes were passes that should not have been made. And that's just it at the end of the day. But I think the rest of that performance against Atlanta was a little bit better than what you're giving credit for. I think other than the two interceptions.
What would you grade him? What would you grade him? You give him a grade on the Atlanta game. What was his grade?
I would give him a B+.
Oh my God.
Because two of the most in the rest of that game, the passes that were not caught were drops. They were passes that were hitting guys in the hands. This is a guy in a very accurate NFL quarterback. He's putting up he threw 4 touchdown passes.
And two of the worst interceptions that you could possibly throw in two of the worst situations to throw them. Like
absolutely.
That goes to a B+. B+.
Yes.
A B+. Not a B. B+.
It was a B+ performance.
Oh my God.
Absolutely. You're not gonna take away the interceptions. The interceptions are part of it. And I said it in the moment that at some point, those interceptions are not a bug; they're a feature, right?
So we're not there yet.
Those are things that he needs.
We're not there yet.
What's that?
We're not there yet because we're still giving him a B+. So we're essentially giving him a pass.
Well, the rest of those two interceptions were, I think, among the only possible missteps that he had in the whole game.
Yeah, but they're horrible missteps. We're not talking about him overthrowing a guy or throwing short of the sticks on third down. We're talking about turnovers that cost them the football game.
So let me ask you this. Is this narrative different if the defense makes a stop and Atlanta doesn't go down the field and kick a game-winning field goal after Tua leads the team on a 90-yard touchdown drive to take the lead?
Does Tua have to lead them on a 90-yard touchdown drive to win the game if he doesn't throw an interception that sets the Falcons up on the doorstep? That's not the question. And threw an interception in the end zone earlier in the game. That's at the very least 3 points that he took away from Miami and 7 points that he essentially gave the Falcons. So that's 10 points already that we gifted the Falcons because of Tua's turnovers in a game that we lost by 2 points. Did Tua I didn't say he had a bad game. I said C+/B-. So, I said C+. But
here's the thing. You said one of your arguments was he didn't even win the game, is one of your arguments, right? He didn't even win the game. He went down there and led them on a fourth quarter touchdown drive to give them the lead. And then the defense, as we've seen this team do, folded and let the Falcons go down the field and kick the game-winning field goal. What I'm saying is, if the Falcons don't go down the field and kick that game-winning field goal, the narrative is Tua leads game-winning touchdown drive.
And he still had a C+/B- performance.
Okay, well, if that's how you feel, I'm just saying that I believe that it was a slightly better performance than you're giving him, and we've seen this before. That I'm tending to evaluate him a little bit higher than you are in general. That just seems to be the way that we grade our quarterbacks, is that I'm giving him I don't know if it's leeway or whatever, but anyway, again, the fact of the matter is, I thought it was a pretty good game. He had a B+ game in my mind against the Atlanta Falcons. He goes out against the Buffalo Bills on Sunday and has another B+ performance. What do you do with that information?
Oh, so you mean he throws 2 more horrible interceptions?
And he leads the Dolphins and puts them in a position to win the game against Buffalo, and then the defense folds at the end.
Then we're in the same spot.
Okay, well then I don't know what to tell you.
Same spot. I mean, at the end of it, I'm not saying that I'm judging Tua solely on. I'm taking the win and loss out of it. I'm taking that out of the equation. What I'm saying is that a lot of people are going to grade quarterbacks based on them winning and losing. Tua had some really great moments in the last 2 weeks against two of the worst teams in the National Football League. Teams that most people would have expected the Miami Dolphins to beat. Certainly Jacksonville. And I think a home game against Atlanta, I think most people, even though technically Vegas had the Falcons as the favorite, I think a lot of people expected the Dolphins to still be better than the Falcons and to win that game at home. And the fact that they didn't, and Tua didn't play some like lights out game, like, at the end of the day, like, what did he do? It wasn't good enough. Nobody on the team was good enough, and Tua doesn't get a pass on that. It's not like Tua played this great game and nobody else on the team gave him any support. They lost that game for more reasons than just the defense, and Tua was part of it. His 2 interceptions were a major part of why they lost the game. So to just sweep that under the rug like, oh, but he put them in position to win, so what? Those plays still happened, and they were a major contributing factor to why they lost the football game. So to sit here and say, well, he put them in position to win, that's like sitting here and looking at Tua's first game ever against the Los Angeles Rams when he did virtually nothing, and we scored a defensive touchdown and a special teams touchdown and had all these turnovers, and we won the game going away, and saying, oh, well, Tua put them in position to win, so Tua did well. But he played like crap in that game. And he didn't, I'm not saying that he played like crap in this game. He was fine. Just call it like it is. He was very good at times, and he threw a couple of really horrible interceptions that at the end of the day, really taint the performance that he had, and a lot more than just bringing it down to a B+. But like, whatever, it's a grade. Like, it's a completely meaningless grade on a completely meaningless report card. It doesn't matter. But I'm just saying, like, it's a joke to call it a B+.
Okay, but the point that I'm getting to is, I understand he made those decisions, and those are, I mean, the big thing about this quarterback is that's what we know, what we're working with. We're working with a guy, and you talked about it. It was on his resume coming out of college. This is a guy who sometimes does too much, right? Especially immediately after you force a huge turnover to throw that interception there, the one that he threw late in the second half. That was a really brutal interception to throw. There's no discounting that, right? But at the same time, the fact that he put up 291 yards, 32 of 40 is really efficient. 32 of 40 is really efficient passing. Yes, he threw those 2 interceptions, but he threw 32 of 40 for 291 and 4 touchdowns. Right? It's one thing if he throws those 2 back-breaking interceptions and then he also just has puts up very mediocre numbers the rest of the way. The other numbers are really great. Yes, there's as you said, 2 interceptions are really bad. But if he goes in, right, and he puts up 291, completes 32 of 40 passes in Orchard Park against Buffalo, against this Bills team,
sure.
That's the point that I'm making here. That's the point, that if he can go and he can put on that kind of performance this weekend, then that is a huge step forward for this quarterback, especially in light of all of the nonsense that is happening off the field surrounding him. The fact that he would be able to put his head down and put that together against Buffalo, that would be a big deal. Now, is he going to do that? I don't know.
Right.
I would say the odds are probably against it, but
well, that's the whole thing. Like, you're sitting here, and on one hand, you're saying, oh, well, he did it against Jacksonville and against Atlanta, and you're giving him a hard time. But if he does it against Buffalo, is it going to be great? Yeah, sure, but do it. Are you expecting him to do it?
That's what I'm saying.
Are you expecting it? I'm not expecting him to do it.
You just sat here. You just sat here and said if he does it, it's the same thing.
No, you said if he plays another B+ performance, which I jokingly said, oh, so that means he's throwing 2 horrible interceptions. I didn't say anything about, oh, he's
throwing for 300 yards and 80% completion percentage or anything like that. I didn't put up any kind of numbers or anything like that. If he plays a B-plus game from my perspective, then against Buffalo, then yeah, I'll give him props for that. But a C-plus game, which in my opinion is what he played, if he does that against Buffalo, then we're not going to be in position to win the game unless the defense unexpectedly has a great game.
Well, can I tell you the best way to put yourself in position to win a game?
Do tell.
It's to go to manscaped.com and use the promo code Dolphins Talk, because then you save 20% off and you get free shipping. You see what I did there?
I do see.
See what I did there? That's what you got to do. You got to go to manscaped.com. You got to use the promo code Dolphins Talk, and then you got to buy the Performance Package 4.0. You got to get the Lawnmower 4.0. You got to get the Weed Whacker. You got to get the ball deodorant and the Crop Reviver toner. You got to get the boxer briefs. You got to get the whole situation. You got to get the Shed travel bag. You got to get all that stuff over at manscaped.com. Whether you buy a ton or you buy a little, you're getting 20% off and you're getting free shipping when you use the promo code Dolphins Talk. And listen, that's going to put you in position to win. That is going to have you completing 32 out of 40 passes. Because listen, no matter how well you're Manscaped, you're not going to hit a home run every time. You're not always going to throw a touchdown pass. Sometimes you throw a terrible interception. But if you go to manscaped.com, use the promo code Dolphins Talk, you could certainly help out your situation a little bit, is all I'm trying to say. So go over there, go over to dolphinstalk.com, go to manscaped.com, use the promo code Dolphins Talk, save 20%, get free shipping, and I'll tell you what, you'll stiff arm your pubes right out of the playoffs this year with Manscaped. And as always, your balls will thank you. Oh, Mike is asking, Mike of Dolphins Talk is asking everybody who's viewing what they would grade Tua's performance as.
I actually asked that. That was actually me.
Oh, that was the brain.
I figured out how to do the comments from the Dolphins Talk YouTube.
Look at you.
I figured it out while you were doing the
Alexander Thompson says C+. Cap for Life wants us to put up a poll. I don't know how to do that in the comments. I don't know how to do it in the comments, but Oh, PFF sucks is a great comment. Anyway, we'll see. I saw another C comment there. C+, B+, Chris L, B-. Give him a C, C+. So, a lot of different. The grades all seem to be ranging from C to B+. They're in the same ballpark here. It's not like you evaluated him at a D and I gave him a B+. There's not that much difference between a C. Angry Al then we have somebody say A+, and then Angry Al says F. But let's be honest. If Angry Al's not giving you an F, you're doing something wrong. So anyway, now I don't think we're going to get objective answers any longer from the comments here on YouTube, but appreciate everybody giving us the feedback here and for watching live here on the live stream. And of course, everybody who is listening in podcast form, we appreciate it very much if you go over and you leave a 5-star rating and a positive review in Apple Podcasts and everywhere else that you find the podcast. We appreciate that very much. And thank you for listening, as always, to the Same Old Dolphins Show. Brain, any parting words before we go? Because, you're going to do a dolphinstalk.com daily this week that the people will hear on Friday morning. But the next time that we're together for the Same Old Dolphins Show will be either Monday right before the trade deadline, or maybe we might even hold off and do it on Tuesday right after the trade deadline. So, Brain, what are your final parting words here before we sign off until the trade deadline?
We're gonna find out how big these guys' balls are. When I say these guys, I'm talking about the Dolphins front office here, because look, they've played their hand at this point. They want Watson. Honestly, like, I don't want them to trade for Watson. I've made no bones about that. But at this point, you've already made your bed. You know, like, everybody knows that you want the guy. So if you're going to get him, just get him now while you can get him for a discount. If he gets suspended, then he gets suspended. Whatever. You got him under contract for a few years. Like, it's whatever. I don't want them to trade for him, but at this point, we know that we want him, so it doesn't matter. To me, it doesn't matter if they trade for him or not. The intention is there. So at this point, just fucking make the trade already. Just do it. Like, you know, he's your guy. Just go get him. Trade Tua for a first-round pick. You know, because whether you get that first-round pick now or you get it in the offseason, Tua's played well enough to where you should get a first-round pick back for him, in my opinion.
You get a first-round back. You get a first-round pick back for a quarterback who's putting up C+ performances.
14 games into his career. Yeah, I think as for what Tua is, I believe that Tua absolutely has the potential to be a franchise quarterback, a top 10 quarterback, maybe a top 15 quarterback, definitely, and potentially even a top 5. The margin for error is small there, so I don't say that with a ton of confidence as far as the top 5. But I could certainly see him becoming a top 10 quarterback based on his tools. But there's also a lot of, there's a lot of question marks about his arm strength, about whether or not he can stay healthy through the course of a season, whether or not he can take a pounding for 16 games. But at this point, I think that you can get a first-round pick for Tua. And so, look, you're the Dolphins. Watson is your guy. Go ahead and just make the trade already and wait out as long as you have to and get the best deal possible that you can get for Tua and recoup that. And then if Watson gets suspended to start next season, well, then you live with it. You live with it because you're playing the long game anyway. You're not trading for Watson to try to win the Super Bowl right now. You're not trading for Watson to win the Super Bowl next year. You're trading for Watson to be your franchise quarterback for the next 5 to 10 seasons. So if that's what you feel he's going to be, and I don't know why you would make the trade or why you'd even agree to terms if you didn't feel that, especially considering all of this legal mess and the moral objections that you could have to it. So, they should make the trade. They absolutely should, regardless of whether there's clarity from the league or from the legal system. And I mean, I wouldn't make the trade, but if I'm Stephen Ross and Brian Flores and Chris Greer, and they've all made up their mind, obviously, that Watson is the guy, then yes, they should make the move. And if they don't make the move, then we know that they're just scared. And they're scared to pull the trigger, and they're going to end up costing themselves more. And they're just going to end up prolonging this thing more, which is only going to hurt Tua. So, we're going to find out a little bit more about this Dolphins front office, but I can tell you one thing. My full expectation is for them to do the stupidest thing possible, because that's what they keep on doing year after year after year and week after week after week.
Let me put something out there for you. Dolphins go up to Orchard Park this week and get boat raced. They lose to Buffalo 63-3. Does the deal get done before Tuesday?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't think they're.
So you don't think there's
I don't know what to believe, because I don't believe that. I believe that what's happening right now is the Dolphins are talking to the Texans and agreeing to things, and the Dolphins are being mum on it, and all of the leaking things out is coming from Houston's side, because they're trying to put pressure on the Dolphins to make a move. So, I don't necessarily believe that the Dolphins are really taking that stance. I think the Dolphins are just saying that when they're talking to the Texans, because they're trying to get pick protection for the trade, which would make sense. And the Texans, because they don't want to give pick protection on the trade, are going to leak this out to their reporters, and it's going to get out there into the ether, and everybody's going to be talking about it, and it's going to make the Dolphins look stupid, which is what's happening this week. And it's going to pressure the Dolphins to make a stand one way or another. And the Texans, look, they've already agreed to terms. They already made their decision that Watson is their guy. So I believe that they're going to make the deal, and that they're ultimately going to, I don't think it matters what happens on Sunday. I think that if Tua plays poorly on Sunday, then the only thing that does is it hurts the value that they'll get back from Tua. If Tua plays well on Sunday, I don't think it dissuades them anymore from making the deal. I just think in a way, it almost makes them want to make the deal that much more, because then if Watson doesn't get suspended, they could throw Watson in there next week, and the last image that you have of Tua is him playing a really great game, and that's great for getting the most that you can back for him in a trade.
Fair enough. Well, we'll see how it all plays out in the next 6 days, and we'll find out what this franchise is made of? Question mark. I guess. Anyway. Whatever the case may be, wherever you are, find a healthy way to decompress from this Dolphins team, because, man, they can drive you to some awful habits. And listen, I'm going to go have a drink right now because I'm exhausted just thinking about it. Just thinking about this team. What?
I'm going to watch part 3 of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills reunion. And it's going to be far more entertaining than any Dolphins game we've watched this season.
I'm going to go have some of that apple bourbon that I got from the apple orchard the other day. And it's going to be really, really great. So while Brain goes and watches the Housewives and I go drink the bourbon, I hope that all of you will take care of yourselves and each other. And we will talk to you again next time. And as always, go Dolphins!